Okay. Hi, everyone. And it's good to see everyone here. And it's a huge batch. And we will be starting, and I'll be giving you a brief introduction to the module. So today I'm just going to give you a brief introduction to the module. So I'm going to give you the overview of the entire module, the entire unit that you're going to study for these couple of weeks. So you have 5 learning outcomes in strategic financial management, right? You have 5 learning outcomes. Number 1, be able to apply the tools and techniques of cost accounting, be able to critically analyze the financial performance of businesses, be able to evaluate the budgetary processes of organizations, be able to recommend effective long-term and short-term sources of funding, be able to critically appraise investment options. So when it comes to strategic financial management, L7, you will be learning all types of accounting. So, under accounting, you have 3 structures or 3 categories under accounting, which is financial accounting, management accounting, and cost accounting. So you're going to learn all 3 in strategic financial management. And do not worry, I'll be teaching you from the basics. So anyone who is not from an accounting background will understand what I'm teaching. So in case you need an extra help, you can always contact and come back to me, and you can clear your doubts. So the first learning outcome, which is be able to apply the tools and techniques of cost accounting. So here we're going to learn about cost accounting. What is cost accounting? And then we're also going to learn about management, financial, and cost accounting. And we're going to find the differences. Right? What are the differences between management, financial, and cost accounting? And then further, we're going to learn about the concepts, features, and the importance of cost accounting. For an example, under key concepts, you have something called direct cost, indirect cost, cost object, cost behavior. So you'll be learning the definitions of these concepts. And then we'll also be learning about the features of cost accounting. What is cost accounting? How is cost controlled? What is cost planning? What are the decisions made regarding the cost? So we'll be learning this under tools of costing. And then we'll also be learning about costing systems. So here we'll be learning about something called job costing, process costing, ABC. So we'll be learning in detail about this, right? And then we'll also be doing some basic costing calculations. So remember, when it comes to strategic financial management, this is the only subject out of all the subjects that you're doing is a combination of both quantitative and qualitative lessons. So you have calculations and you have theory. So it's a combination of both. So you're not going to get bored. Because when you're always doing, theory, I know it's kind of boring to me to do theory all the time. So this is not going to be boring because you're going to do calculations and theory, right? And number 2, be able to critically analyze the financial performance of business. So here, I'm going to introduce you to something called financial statements. So what are financial statements? I know most of them are aware of financial statements. You would have heard of something called income statement, also called as P&L or profit and loss account. Yeah. So you'll be learning about this. And then you'll also be learning about the balance sheet. What is a balance sheet? Also called as SOFP, statement of financial position. And you'll also be learning about cash flow statement, statement of changes in equity. And then I will be introducing you to the annual report. So when you complete this course, you should be able to review any annual report of any industry. Right? So what is the annual report? So when you look into the annual report, you're able to find out, okay, what is the profit of the business? What is the loss? What are the assets of the business? What are the liabilities of the business? So you have to get an overview. When you look into any annual report at a glance, any financial statements of any industry, of any company at a glance, you should be able to know, okay, these are the profits, these are the expenses, these are the income, these are their liabilities, these are their assets, right? So I'll be giving you an entire explanation about it. And then moving on to ratio calculation. So this is going to be a little challenging compared to all the other sections that we've covered. And you have to pay attention in ratio calculation because this is going to cover up an entire task in your assignment. Task 1 is based on ratio and investment ratio. So you have to pay special attention. So I'll be using real world examples. I'll be taking annual reports of companies, and then I'll be doing the calculations using these examples. Okay, so here we'll be learning about ratios, how to calculate the ratios. And you know what? Calculating the ratio is easy. That's not the challenging part. Because when it comes to ratios, it's like maths. You have the formulas, you have the data, you just have to substitute the data into the formulas, right? And then you get the result, or you get the outcome. Now, what's challenging here is the interpretation. Okay, what is interpretation? So we got this result. So what now? What is it? So interpretation part is the difficult part, right? Or I would say the challenging part. So for you to do the interpretation, you should have a thorough understanding about the ratios. So if this percentage comes, if it is 20%, what does that mean? If it is 10%, what does that mean? So you will be learning about that under ratio calculation, analysis, and interpretation, right? And then recommend organizational decisions based on evaluation of financial statements using financial ratios. Yes, once your financial ratios are calculated, now you have to give recommendations. So if your financial ratios are not that good, okay, you have to give them a recommendation. Okay, the organization should go for this. They should completely change their strategy, or they should completely just some sort of a suggestion or recommendation has to be given based on your analysis and interpretation, right? And then propose manager recommendation on the strategic portfolio of an organization based on financial analysis. So this is your second learning outcome. And number 3, be able to evaluate the budgetary processes of organization. Here, we will be giving you an introduction to budgets. What are budgets? And I know everybody's aware of a budget, what a budget is. And then we'll be learning about the types of budget. We have something called operating budget, capital budget, cash flow, flexible budget, zero-based budgeting. And then also be moving on to evaluating budgetary targets for organization. And then I'll teach you on how to develop a master budget for an organization. And then we'll be moving on to budgeting process, like what is the process of budgeting, like setting objectives, gather information, estimating the revenues and cost. And then we'll be moving on to characteristics and importance of budgets. Okay, what are the characteristics and why is it important for an organization to have a budget? Right, so we'll be learning about this, and also we'll be learning about budgeting variances. And I'm not going to go deep into budgeting variances because that's a very it's a vast, or it's sort of it's more into management accounting. So but I'll be just touching the surface in budgeting variances. So I'll be just teaching you how to calculate variances and how to identify the 2 types of variances, like favorable variances and unfavorable variances. Okay. And then again, the good news is that when it comes to budgeting variances calculation, you're not going to get it, or you're not tested in your assignments. So you're basically, when it comes to calculations, you're tested on ratios and investment appraisal mainly. Okay. And then moving on to the 4th learning outcome. Here, you're going to learn the sources of fund. Right? Sources of fund. From where do businesses get the fund? Short-term, long-term. So we're going to learn what types of sources, whether it is long-term, whether it is short-term. And then we're going to learn the WCC, which is a working capital cycle. And then assess the need for short-term. Yes. So now assessing, meaning now we're going to find out, okay, there is a need. There is a need for source of income or source of fund for the organization. Now we have to analyze what type of need. Is it for the short term or is it for the long term, right? So we're going to learn about this. And appraise appropriate sources of short terms and funds. Yes, these you have to have a thorough understanding in this particular area because this is tested, or this is an assignment question. This is under task 2. Yes, task 2, the entire task 2 is based on this. So you have to have a thorough understanding of short-term and long-term. And obviously, it's not just a straight questions, not direct questions. You have a case study. You have to analyze the case study and then decide on what type of sources or what type of funds does the business require. And then justify the choices. Yes. So you just can't give me the sources of fund. These are the sources of fund. These are the long-term, short-term funds. This is working capital cycle. And then you're going to say, okay, I think this is the best source of fund for this organization, and then end it there. No, you have to justify. You have to tell me, why did you choose this particular source of fund? And why not the other? Yeah. What are the pros and cons of these sources of funds? So you have to explain in detail. Right? And you know that when it comes to source of funds, there are pros and cons. For an example, if you're taking a long-term bank loan, yeah, so it has its own pros and cons. When it comes to the bank loans, you know, the long-term bank loans, you're able to take a large amount of money compared to a bank overdraft. But then there's a disadvantage. What? You have to pay an interest, and interest is high, and you have to pay an interest for a very long time. Yes, so there are both pros and cons of each source of finance. So you have to analyze this, and you have to tell me, or you have to write the answer on your assignment. Okay, this is the best source of fund for this organization because these reasons. Get it? And then finally, we have the fifth learning outcome, which is be able to critically appraise investment options. And again, this particular part, you have to focus because this comes under task 1, investment appraisal. As I said, you have to calculate the NPV. You have to calculate, you'll be learning everything. You'll be learning what is NPV, IRR, payback period, discounted payback. You'll be learning everything in detail. You do not have to worry. So this, you will be getting a question. So you will have to choose an organizer. Yeah, when it comes to ratio analysis, you have to choose an organization. Yes, I have to speak about that. I will. So calculation analysis, this entire section is into investment appraisal. Right? Investment appraisal, and this entire section is focused on calculations and interpretations. Okay. So yes, when it comes to your task 1, right? When it comes to your task 1, you have to choose 2 organizations to calculate the ratios for those 2 organizations. Now, here's the deal. No 2 students can choose the same organization, right? So each student has to choose a different organization. Say, for an example, this Ali chose Dialogue and say Mobitel, just hypothetically. I'm just taking an example because he's from Sri Lanka. So I'm just going to take Dialogue and what's the other one I said? Mobitel. So Anthony can't choose Mobitel and Dialogue. Anthony has to go to a different company. Is that clear? So when Akhtar says, okay, I'm going to choose Dialogue and Mobitel, I'm not going to let any other student to choose the same company. Get it? So you have to get the approval of this. You have the research form, which is on LMS, on the LMS, on every module or on your particular L7 folder. You will have this form. So you have to fill it in and mail it to info@btic.org. And then I'll give you the approval. So if I don't give you the approval, I'll give you a suggestion. I will say, no, you have to go with another company because this has been selected by another student. So you have to go for another company. And I'll give you some suggestions. So I'll say, maybe you can go with Tesco, you could go with any other company. Is that clear? Any questions?
Fine.
Yes, Rashida. All clear, all good.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So give me 1 minute. Let me open another. So as you know, this is your assignment brief, and this assignment brief is uploaded under each of your module. So you'll be able to find your assignment brief on this subject, strategic financial management, under the SFM folder. And I highly suggest you to go through the assignment brief now. Then you'll get a clear understanding of what you should do. But anyways, I'll just give you a brief guidance on how to use your assignment brief. And this is common to all your assignment brief, not just SFM, okay? So you can see that you have 5 learning outcomes. And this is what I gave you a briefing on, okay? And under each of these outcomes, you have something called AC, assessment criteria, right? You have something called AC, assessment criteria. And as you can see, they are numbered as 1.1, 1.2, 1.3. And when it comes to the learning outcome 2, it's 2.1, 2.2, 2.3. And learning outcome 3, 3.1, 3.2. And, it's continued in that method. Now, why is this important? And most of the students, they ignore this assessment criteria. And you cannot ignore. The reason why, I'll tell you. So this is task 1. Now you have 3 tasks in your SFM assignment. And this is task 1 out of the 3. And you can see they have mentioned AC 2.1, 2.2, 2.3, 5.1, 5.2, 5.3. What does this mean? This means when you address the question, when you address the task 1, you need to make sure that you address the assessment criteria 2.1, 2.2, 2.3, and 5.1, 5.2, and 5.3. So when you're answering task 1, you also have to see whether you address these assessment criteria. Is this clear? So you're just not focusing on the question under task 1, but also these assessment criteria. Yes, these questions are based on these assessment criteria, but you have to make sure that you have addressed this in your assessment. And you may ask me, why is it important? Why should I do it? Because when the lecturer is marking your assignment, this is the grading criteria. You see this? Under learning outcome, assessment criteria 1.1. So if you have addressed this assessment criteria in your assignment, only then I can say pass. Get it? Only then I can say, okay, pass, done. If you have not, then refer. And I'm going to give my comments. Okay, this particular student the learner has not addressed this task. So I'll be resubmitting, or I'll be giving the assignment back to you to address it again. Yeah, but then again, it's not going to happen here because, as you know, your assessment or your assignment can be sent to the lecturer all the time, anytime, to get it reviewed. Yeah, so we're going to give you the support. We'll be giving you the guidance, the feedback, and you can meet the lecturer at any time you want. You have to clarify, you need to clarify whether you're on the right track. You need to clarify whether you're doing the assessment right. So you can always talk to your lecturer and see whether you're on the right track. So this is about your assessment. And as you can see, there are 3 tasks. Again, I will be doing an assignment review. Sorry, I'll be explaining you about the assignment at the end of the module once I'm done with the syllabus. Do not worry about it. Do not worry about it. I also have prepared something called the assignment sketch, so it's easier for you to answer or address all the tasks under this assessment. So I'll be doing it. All right, I'll be doing it at the end of the module, but whoever wants to start early, they can go ahead. Okay. All right, so that's the intro of the module, and that's what I want to talk about today. And thank you so much for listening.